I know how I do. No time to waste. Let's get it. Let's go. Hold on. All right. Let's go.
The only way that message is really disseminated is often through these big content creators. Most of the people come across the red pill from things like Fresh and Fit, Andrew Tate, this channel. That's how that packet is distributed, and there are prescriptive messages.
How did they come across it?
I don't know. The internet is the internet.
The algorithm sends it to them.
The algorithm.
Do you think they made it up?
Do I think who made it up?
That those red pill creators that you're talking about, do you think that they just made all that stuff up?
No, I don't. I think there's too many similar messages for it to be made up.
Yeah, so there's like sources for this stuff, right?
Wherever they're sourcing it from, I'm not sure, but they're disseminating
one
it.
such source would be a guy, his name is Rollo Tomasi. The godfather of the red pill. He's going to be pissed that I said that because it's like an ongoing meme, but he calls it a praxeology, right? So if it's praxeological from his perspective, he's saying there's no prescriptions here, right? It's not designed around prescriptors. It's designed around descriptors. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to criticize the red pill, you should probably start by criticizing the descriptors. But if you wanted to criticize individual content creators for their prescriptions, I think that's fine. But that's not the red pill. The red pill is a data packet of descriptions which are trying to express and explain interpersonal sexual dynamics between men and women.
I think the gentleman you mentioned, most people haven't heard of. I think most people
have heard of them.
I think most of the people are getting their information from the millions of subscriptions to Fresh and Fit and whatever. And
Fresh and Fit, he goes on often. They have a very close
Myron Gaines,
relationship.
I'm sure, is much more popular than him.
Yeah, well, the thing is like, maybe, but Myron Gaines is not the... Are you saying he's the red pill?
I think he's one of them.
Okay, so what is... Let's start with that. What is the red pill?
I consider it content that claims to reveal the truth about women but promotes misogyny and male victimhood.
Okay, so you think that the descriptors do that?
I think the content creators that are prescribing what the red pill is.
So it's about content creators. Sure.
So Andrew's trying to get to the point of that the originators of red pill content are not necessarily the people. They're not saying misogynistic things. They're just saying what they notice in the dynamic in the relationship between men and women. What he's saying is that the people who have the most popular voices, even if red pill is not supposedly supposed to be misogynistic, that the people who have the most popular voices are the ones that are misogynistic and pass misogynistic messages. So I'm just trying to make sure that's clear. If I'm wrong on that, correct me in the comment section.
You just think that, so there's just content creators who you disagree with their message?
The majority of the red pill content creators disagree with their message.
Well, well, what's the majority? Like, how many do you think there are?
The most popular of the bunch. The ones that have the most viewers, subscribers.
Okay, so who are these guys that you're talking about?
Fresh and Fit is a big one. Andrew Tate is another one. Okay. And the Whatever Podcast is another one.
Fresh, Fit, Tate, and Whatever. So here's an easy one. I guess let's start with Whatever because I'm pretty familiar with the content here. So what is the message that's being put out there?
There's a lot of misogynistic messages that come out of this podcast. And
let's start with what is misogyny?
Misogyny is the hatred or dislike of women, the active dislike of women.
Plural, women.
Yeah, correct. The entire gender.
So not the active dislike of a woman?
No, not typically.
So it's just women?
Yeah.
Okay. So misogyny is the active hatred or dislike.
That's why I think Andrew be playing stupid. Like, you know exactly what he's trying to say when he says that. Like, get to your point, bro. We know what misogyny means. You know what misogyny means. You've probably been called it plenty of times in your life. Get to the point of what he's trying to say.
Yeah. Got it. All right.
And Fresh and Fit is another big over to that.
Let's start with Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, so what is the misogyny or the dislike of women which is promoted on this channel?
It's presented as a dating podcast, but it's really not. The topics that typically come up on this podcast...
What makes it not a dating podcast?
I'm about to go into that.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
A dating podcast should not discuss whether or not women should be submissive, whether women should vote. On Sunday's show, you ask women how many pumps after they tell you to stop is it grape. That's not a dating podcast. That's one of the craziest questions I've ever heard. You basically say divorce hurts men, marriage is pointless. I don't know how that's helping your audience. I don't know how military conscription has anything to do with a dating podcast. I don't know how, guests being shown a submissive ex-girlfriend and saying, would you bow to your husband? Would you bow to your husband? That's not a dating podcast. That is promoting hatred of women and misogyny as well. Female guests are pressured to reveal their body count and then mocked. If they don't reveal, they're interrogated until they reveal. Women with OnlyFans are moralized and told to quit. Male promiscuity is excused and celebrated. Women are asked about their peak looks, age, and questioned incessantly. Segments like Man, Bear versus Woods mock women's very real fears about male violence, even though statistical realities are ignored and dismissed as irrational. The Super Chat roast. The guests love to shit on these women every chance they get. And on this show, feminism and women are blamed for most of men's problems.
Whoa! He just killed it. He literally came with receipts. I just want to see. Now, this is going to show me if Andrew Wilson is a really good debater. Can you object to what he just said? Because all those things are things that have happened on the Whatever podcast. So can you bring a substantial argument to argue against every point that he just made to show that that's not, in a sense, misogynistic or leading to misogynistic thoughts? I'm curious. Real curious to know this. Let's go. Andrew may bring it. I just want to see. Andrew may bring it.
And do you have a copy of that? I'd like to see it. That thing. Because you just shotgunned a bunch of points, and Andrew, you want to
you can have it
one by one.
I also have peer-reviewed studies if you want those too.
Yeah, if you have especially if they have a meta-analysis, I'd like to see them.
And just to before you give your response, Andrew, my understanding here for the debate was primarily going to be about feminism, not specific criticisms of the.
Well, I mean, this is
Swamps were about manosphere and red pill.
He took that personal, but it's okay. I understand. He took that personal. But like literally, he took that personal. I think that's funny.
Yeah. So this is. I'm actually fine with this, right? So.
Okay, let's go. Get him, Andrew. Let's see.
Why it's not really a dating podcast. Whether women should be submissive. Why I don't understand. Why would that not be relational to dating?
What does submission have to do with dating?
Well, because dating is, especially on a dating show, you would be significantly talking about people's preferences when it came to...
This kind of sucks for Andrew, though. I'm going to listen to him, but it kind of sucks because he's kind of put in the forefront for what the podcast has said, not necessarily what he said. So I think this is a win-lose kind of situation for him. So he could either do a good job, but if he doesn't, it really doesn't matter because he didn't say half of that shit. The podcast did. The people that came on the podcast did. And the podcast can't control who comes on and says what they say. Now, granted, if the podcasts are asking those questions, which I think is what he's implying, then technically you could say they're misogynistic.
The social experiences they're having with the opposite sex.
You're not talking about your preferences. You're talking about their preferences. Because when you talk about submission, you're talking about from your worldview, women should be submissive.
Okay, but from their worldview, that they could also have maybe a counter to that why they shouldn't, or also... A lot of them say, yes, they should. So the idea here for submission, especially, would be, I don't see how that's not dating related.
I don't know how submission comes up on any sort of date. I don't know if you've ever been on a date in the last 20 years.
So if I ask you, what type of woman do you want? Mm-hmm. And you go through the traits and you say, I'd also like a submissive woman. Does that make sense to say as a trait?
Sure, I don't know many people that would just offer that up as one of the first things they want in a woman, but maybe those are the people you hang out with.
Who said it was the first? If you ask somebody, if I'm asking what's your dynamic, and one of the answers is a submissive woman.
Yeah,
that comes up all the time for men in dating.
Okay, in your circles, perhaps.
I mean, no, just in well, how many dating podcast sample sizes do you have here?
I'm on a dating podcast. I made one. I listen to a lot of your shows. I listen to a lot of everything that's out there.
I don't understand. Any of the dating podcasts that come up when you ask men their preference, they've never once says, I would prefer to have a woman who's more submissive.
The topic of submission only comes up on Red Pill podcasts.
No, it doesn't only come up on
Where else does it come up?
It's been on Dr. Phil. It's been everywhere.
Dr. Phil talks about submission every episode?
I didn't say every episode.
Well, that's what we're talking about here.
Is he doing a dating podcast?
Don't mention Dr. Phil as a dating show then. Don't mention Dr. Phil as a dating show. That's not a dating show.
You asked where else it's mentioned.
As a dating show. That is not a dating show.
Yeah, so in any case, any of the dating podcasts that I've seen, it's a very common answer to say if they want to
name another dating podcast.
And here's the other thing to dive into this.
Name another dating podcast.
Here's the other thing to dive into this.
Well, you got to name another dating podcast.
Okay, Fresh and Fit happens there all the time.
Red pill content, exactly as I said.
Okay, so when you're talking about a dating podcast, what do you mean by that?
Something a little less.
Travel spending can spiral
man, Andrew's getting destroyed.
With Navon's dynamic travel.
Andrew's getting destroyed.
I don't know, misogynistic.
Oh, this is bad. Y'all want me to debate this guy? Like I ain't gonna. This is gonna be hilarious. Andrew's getting destroyed right now. He's literally getting destroyed. He is. He's right. And then he's going to say another red pill podcast. He's saying, like, that's exactly where the conversation of submission comes up, which is where, like, submission is a topic of misogynistic content. It is. Like, misogynists talk about submission a lot. Why would you need submission from somebody? Why would you need submission? You guys should just get along. I don't know. I'm just being funny. I'm being funny on that one, but, yeah.
What does that mean, though?
I've already explained it to you and defined it.
If any man has a dating podcast, is it red pill or
I have a dating podcast and it's not misogynistic.
I see. And let me ask you a question. What kind of questions do you ask on your dating podcast?
I ask them what are their priorities in a man. I ask them, do you have advice for men?
And how many men have you had on?
0. It's called Women on Men.
Oh, I see. So you're a misandrist?
Absolutely not.
Well, I don't understand. Why don't you want a man's opinion?
Because I want to ask women specifically. That has nothing. Misandry involves hate, and I don't hate men.
Oh, okay, I got it. So you only have on women,
correct?
And you don't ask them when you ask them about preferences.
Yeah,
right. Do they say that they want things like assertive men?
No.
Do they say that they want less assertive men?
I give them a list of 10 traits and say rank these between your top 3 and your bottom 3.
Okay, so you're giving them the answers.
I'm not giving them the answers. They take a lot of time to think about it.
But you just said you gave them 10 traits.
Yeah, that's not the answers. Those are options.
Yeah, that's answers that are options you can choose from. So multiple choice.
That's not answers.
Yes, it's answers.
Okay, they're answers, Andrew.
Yeah, you gave them 10 answers and say, choose from these.
And then they sort them. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that's their answers. So you're
making them choose from answers that you give them.
Okay.
So you're literally feeding them their answers, and then they choose them.
Yep. And they don't come and say, "Man, I wish you would have had this on the list."
Why is it then? Well, how long have you been doing it?
Can we get back to misogynistic podcasts?
If it is the case,
can we get back to misogynistic podcasts? No, we're not.
If that it is your criticism,
can we get back to misogynistic?
If you're going to have criticism for whatever, I'm going to have criticism for your podcast.
You haven't even listened to it, so don't talk about it.
Do I need to?
Pull it up and listen to it.
Listen to it from you.
Go ahead, pull it up on YouTube.
I can listen to it.
Go ahead and pull it up on YouTube. You have not watched my podcast, so don't say here. We're not going to critique my podcast.
Why not?
Because you haven't even watched it.
Let's watch it.
Go ahead, pull it up.
So if we pull up your
45
podcast
minutes
right now,
45 minutes put on 2 times speed, and then we can critique my podcast. But until then, tell me about another non-misogynistic red pill podcast.
Well, I don't think any of those are misogynistic podcasts.
Yeah, of course not.
You got to demonstrate that they actually hate these women.
By their actions, by the things, everything that's happening right there.
Yeah, so let's go through some more of these.
When Myron Gaines has a college table that says women deserve less, you don't think that's a little misogynistic?
Is that during his podcast?
Bro, this guy's destroying Andrew. I ain't gonna lie. Oh my God, this is bad. This is really bad for Andrew, man.
He is one of the red pill content creators that we're talking about.
I thought it had to be a podcast.
Dude.
Andrew just sounds like he's doing nothing but deflecting. Like, no. Like, verify that it's not misogynistic. Talk about the points. I want him to go down the list and talk about the points and prove that the points aren't misogynistic. Because to a lot of women, they are misogynistic. And to some men, I guess, apparently.
I thought it had to be a podcast. Now it doesn't have to be a podcast.
He's losing the debate.
That is the most childish thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
You gave me the criteria.
The criteria is the content creators, including Myron Gaines. Yes, I've always said that. So, nothing's changed in my statement.
So as we're talking about dating podcasts, the idea of dating.
Correct.
Is it also possible there's just not that many?
Yeah, there's not a lot of red pill podcasts.
No, just dating podcasts.
There's a ton of dating podcasts.
Okay, name some.
Mine.
Name some other ones.
There's a guy named Man We're in Trouble. There's Evie Edit. There's
Evie Edit's a dating podcast?
Yeah, she talks about dating and men and women.
Is it a dating podcast though?
Yes.
So this
isn't a dating podcast.
So hang on. So they have
this isn't a dating podcast.
So on Evie Edit they have Every single time they come on, they have multitudes of people on with them, and all they talk
I didn't
about is...
necessarily say they have guests. I'm not talking about the format. I'm saying that's what the content that comes up is men and women, and this is not a dating podcast that we're currently on.
So you're just talking about, for you, a dating podcast, just anybody who's talking about dating.
This is not a dating podcast that we're currently on.
Well, prove it.
I just did.
How? Let's go through more.
You want me to read them? So here, why don't we do the first one? Whether women should be submissive. I don't
understand how would that not be? Yeah, actually, how would that not be a decent question to ask for dating? I don't get it.
You asked on your first dates?
Yeah, there you go.
What, if a woman would be submissive?
Yeah.
No.
Exactly, because it's not a dating question.
Why would that? Let's back up. Let's assume.
This is bad. This is bad, man. This dude is destroying Andrew, bro. This dude is destroying Andrew, y'all. I don't know, man. This is bad. This is really bad.
For a second, that anything that I would ask a woman on the first date isn't something you would ask a woman on the first date. What does that prove?
I'm saying the things you guys do.
It proves that that's not a dating question. Man.
Do you think you're going to look better in 10 years? Do you think you're going to look better in 10 years? Is that something you asked on the date?
Answer my question.
What's your body count? Do you ask that on the first date?
Can you answer my question?
Do you ask what's a body count on the first date?
Before you start shot.
He's answering the question. He's answering the question.
Before you start shotgunning questions.
You have different questions.
I'll never answer one of yours if you never answer one of mine.
Go ahead, Andrew.
So here we go again. What does it actually prove? What does it prove that if I asked a whole sequence of different questions from you on my first date, what does that prove?
Yeah, you're not asking these questions on your first date.
Can you answer my question?
I just did.
What does it prove?
It proves that you're not asking these questions
So
on
it
your
doesn't
first
prove
date.
anything?
It does prove it.
What does it prove?
That you're not asking these kinds of questions on your first date.
What is that proving outside of that?
It proves that these are more misogynistic questions.
Does it also prove that I don't ask any other questions other people would ask that you're not asking here?
I have no idea if it proves that or
It's
not.
just so stupid, dude. It proves nothing.
Okay.
What does it prove?
What do those questions prove?
Nothing. They don't prove anything.
Okay.
That was bad. Andrew lost. L for Andrew. Big L. Dude made a great point. The point was what I said at the very beginning. That misogynistic, like that basically misogynistic podcast. He thought that red pill content is misogynistic. It has an underlying root of misogyny. Andrew was trying to argue that it doesn't. Andrew didn't make any point in there to prove that it didn't. The guy was saying those are misogynistic questions. To ask someone about body count, things like that, are misogynistic questions because it leads to a later conversation of a woman being immoral or things like that. Like, Andrew didn't make a point, and I wanted him to. I promise you I did. I wanted him to make a point of that's not a misogynistic question. Maybe I could do it for him. It's not a misogynistic question because it's something that men want to know what type of woman they're dealing with. On a date, like if you did ask body count, you would just want to know what type of woman you're dealing with because if she has a massive amount of bodies, then maybe like she could be promiscuous, and you're afraid of promiscuity, so like you don't want a woman to be promiscuous. You know, that could have been Andrew's answer. His answer when he fired back the submission question, he could have been like, well, I just want to know if a woman is going to be on the traditional value type standard. Andrew didn't argue any of those points. Like, Jesus Christ, man, I'm out. Good conversation though. Peace.